Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon and watched the stars bend around them. The ship moved through space faster than light itself, but Jake felt calm. He had done this journey 1,000 times in his dreams. Today was different, though. Today they would finally test the barrier that had kept humans trapped for 500 years. Lisa Campbell looked up from her science station. Her fingers moved across the glowing controls as she read the data. "Captain, the energy readings are strange," she said. "The Sol cage should be much stronger here, but I'm seeing gaps everywhere." Jake nodded. The Sol cage was supposed to be perfect. The aliens who built it claimed it would last forever. They said it would keep the dangerous humans locked away until they learned to be peaceful. 5 centuries had passed since then. Now Jake and his crew were about to find out what lay beyond their prison. Ryan Blake checked his security systems one more time. The big man had been a soldier before he joined the crew. He knew how to fight, but he hoped they would not need to fight today. Still, something felt wrong about this mission. The barrier had been too quiet for too long. Katie Phillips worked in the engine room below. Her hands moved over the new technology that powered their ship. This was not the same technology humans had used 500 years ago. This was something new, something the old humans could never have imagined. The engines bent space itself, making distance meaningless. The ship moved closer to the edge of known space. Jake had grown up hearing stories about the time before the cage. Humans had been explorers then. They had traveled to distant worlds and met alien races. But the aliens had been afraid. They said humans were too violent, too unpredictable. So they built the Sol cage and locked humanity away from the rest of the galaxy. "Captain, we're approaching the barrier," Lisa said. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the excitement underneath. They had all wondered what would happen when they finally tried to break through. The view screen showed a wall of energy that stretched as far as they could see. It glowed with a blue light that hurt to look at directly. This was the Sol cage, the prison that had held humanity for so long. But as they got closer, Jake could see that Lisa was right. There were holes in the barrier, dark spaces where the energy had failed. "Take us through the largest gap," Jake ordered. Katie's voice came through the communication system. "Engine power at maximum. All systems ready, Captain." The New Horizon moved forward. Jake held his breath as they approached the gap in the barrier. For a moment, the ship shook as it passed through the energy field. Then they were through. They were in open space beyond the Sol cage for the first time in 500 years. "Scan for any ships or stations," Jake said. Ryan's instruments came alive with signals. "Captain, I'm reading a vessel approaching from the asteroid belt. It's big, but using old technology. Much older than ours," Jake smiled. The first contact with aliens in 5 centuries was about to happen. "Open a channel when they get closer." The alien ship was long and gray, covered with weapons that looked primitive compared to human technology. Jake recognized the design from old records. This was a Vorthon patrol ship. The Vortha had been among the aliens who helped build the Sol cage. A face appeared on the view screen. The alien had green skin and large black eyes. Its mouth moved as it spoke in the old galactic language that Jake had learned as a child. "Human vessel, you have left your designated area. You will follow us to Processing Station 7 for containment." Jake looked at his crew. Lisa was trying not to laugh. Ryan was shaking his head. Katie's voice came through the speakers. "Captain, should I show them what our engines can really do?" "Not yet," Jake said. He turned back to the alien captain. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel New Horizon. We are no longer bound by the old containment agreements. We demand to speak with the Galactic Council." The Vorthon captain's eyes grew wider. "Impossible. Humans do not have the technology to break through the Sol cage. You will submit to escort immediately or face destruction." Jake nodded to Ryan. The security chief pressed a single button on his control panel. The alien ship suddenly stopped moving. Its engines went silent. Its weapons powered down. The Vorthon crew was unharmed, but their ship was completely helpless. "How?" the alien captain whispered. "We had 500 years to learn new things," Jake said. "Your people thought you were keeping us safe from the galaxy. You were actually keeping the galaxy safe from us, but we're not the same humans you locked away. We learned to be better." Lisa's instruments showed more ships approaching. Word was spreading that humans had broken free. Some aliens would be curious. Others would be afraid. Many would want to fight. But Jake was not worried. The New Horizon was just one ship, but it carried technology that would amaze the galaxy. Set course for the nearest council outpost, Jake ordered. It's time to introduce ourselves properly. Katie increased power to the engines. The New Horizon moved away from the disabled Vorthan ship, heading deeper into galactic space. Behind them, the Sol cage continued to fail, gap by gap, until it was nothing more than scattered energy floating in the dark. The Vorthan captain watched the human ship disappear. His hand shook as he sent an emergency message to the Galactic Council. The message was simple but terrifying. The humans are free. They have technology we cannot understand. They disabled our ship without weapons. Request immediate assistance. Across the galaxy, other voices began to whisper the same message. After 500 years of peace, the humans had returned. And they were nothing like the primitive beings the aliens remembered. They were something new, something powerful, something that would change everything. The age of human containment was over. The age of human ascension had begun. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 3 days. In the Great Hall of Nexus Prime, representatives from 47 different alien species argued about what to do with the humans who had somehow escaped their cage. Fear filled the air like smoke. Dr. Alex Turner walked through the corridors of the council building with calm steps. Behind him followed Admiral Karen West and Ambassador Peter Hayes. The 3 humans had arrived that morning in a ship that made no sound and cast no shadow. The aliens who saw it land could not explain how it worked. Alex had studied alien psychology for most of his life. He knew that fear made most species act in predictable ways. Some would try to run. Others would try to fight. A few might try to understand. Today he would find out which path the council would choose. Karen West carried herself like a soldier, but she was much more than that. She had helped design the new technologies that protected human space. She understood weapons that could unmake stars and defenses that existed in 7 dimensions at once. She hoped the aliens would be wise enough not to test them. Peter Hayes had spent decades learning to speak the languages of dozens of alien races. More importantly, he knew how they thought. He could read their emotions in the way they moved their limbs or changed their colors. This skill would be vital in the hours ahead. The Great Hall of the Council was a massive dome that could hold 10,000 beings. Today it was packed. Species that had been enemies for centuries sat side by side, united by their fear of humanity's return. At the center of the hall stood a platform where the council leaders made their decisions. Council leader Zephyrian of the Altarian Empire rose to speak. His forearms spread wide as his voice echoed through the hall. "We face the greatest threat in galactic history," he said. "The humans have somehow developed technology that surpasses our understanding. We must act before they spread beyond their cage." Alex stepped forward onto the platform. The hall fell silent. Many aliens had never seen a human before. They stared at his simple appearance, wondering how such a plain-looking being could be so dangerous. "Honored Council," Alex began, speaking in perfect galactic standard, "we come not as conquerors but as neighbors. For 500 years you have kept us separated from the galactic community. We used that time to grow and learn. Now we wish to rejoin the galaxy as equals." A Krelian representative stood up, his shell-like body clicking as he moved. "You speak of equality, but your ship disabled a Vorthan patrol vessel without firing a shot. What technology do you possess that allows such power?" Karen stepped forward. "We learned to work with the fundamental forces of reality itself," she said simply. "Gravity, time, space, energy, these became our tools. We do not break the laws of physics. We learned to ask them politely to bend." Nervous laughter rippled through the hall. Some aliens thought she was joking. Others realized she was completely serious. The laughter died quickly. Peter addressed the crowd in a voice that somehow reached every corner of the massive hall. "We understand your fear. 500 years ago, humans were indeed violent and unpredictable, but isolation taught us patience. Hardship taught us cooperation. We learned that true strength comes from lifting others up, not tearing them down." An elderly draconian general slammed his clawed hand on his seat. "Pretty words cannot hide your true nature. Humans are warriors. You conquered your own world before you reached the stars. You will try to conquer us as well." Alex nodded thoughtfully. "You are correct that humans have a warrior spirit. But we learned to fight different battles. We fought ignorance with education. We fought scarcity with innovation. We fought isolation with unity. The weapons we carry now are knowledge, compassion, and the power to help others reach their potential." The hall erupted in confused voices. Some aliens demanded proof of human intentions. Others called for immediate military action. Through it all, Zephyrian watched the three humans with calculating eyes. Alex raised his hand, and somehow his gesture brought silence to the 10,000 beings in the hall. When he spoke, his words carried a weight that made even the proudest alien leaders listen. "We offer 3 gifts to prove our sincerity," he said. "First, the medical knowledge to cure the genetic plague that has killed billions of Krelians over the past century. Second, the agricultural techniques that could end the famine on 17 different worlds. Third, the energy technology that could power your civilizations for 1,000,000 years without harming a single living world." The silence stretched for long moments. Finally, a small voice spoke from the Krelian section. "You can truly cure our people?" Karen nodded. "Our medical teams are already preparing the treatment protocols. We can begin healing your people within days if you allow it." But Zephyrian had heard enough. His 4 eyes blazed with anger as he rose to his full height. "This is clearly a trap," he declared. "Humans offer gifts to make us dependent on them. Once we accept their help, they will control us completely. I call for an immediate vote to authorize military action against human space." The hall exploded into chaos. Some species supported Zephyrian's call for war. Others begged for the medical aid Alex had promised. Still others demanded more time to study the situation. Peter watched the confusion with sad eyes. He had hoped the aliens would choose wisdom over fear, but he could see the vote would go badly. Too many species remembered old stories about human aggression. Too many leaders feared losing their power to human technology. The vote was close, but Zephyrian won. 25 species voted for war. 22 voted against. By the laws of the Council, military action was authorized. As the 3 humans prepared to leave, Zephyrian approached them. His voice was cold and certain. "You have 1 day to return to your cage. If any human ship is found in Council space after that time, we will destroy it. The combined fleets of the galaxy will ensure your species never threatens us again." Alex looked at the alien leader with something like pity. "Admiral West, please send a message to our defense forces. Tell them to prepare for visitors. Tell them to be gentle." Karen spoke quietly into her communication device. Far away in human space, Admiral Simon Cross received the message and began moving the greatest military force humanity had ever assembled. But unlike the Council fleet that would soon approach Earth, the human ships carried no weapons of destruction. They carried something far more dangerous to their enemies: the power to show mercy. As the humans left Nexus Prime, their ship rose into space without making a sound. Behind them, the greatest fleet in galactic history began to gather. 12 different species contributed their mightiest warships. The combined force numbered over 10,000 vessels. The aliens believed they were launching a war of survival. In truth, they were about to learn what humanity had become during their centuries of isolation. And that lesson would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Simon Cross stood in the command center deep beneath the surface of Luna. Around him, screens showed the approaching Council fleet. 10,000 alien warships moved toward human space with weapons charged and shields raised. Simon felt no fear, only sadness that it had come to this. General Linda Torres studied the fleet formations on her tactical display. She had designed humanity's new defense strategies, but she had hoped never to use them. The approaching aliens had no idea what they were flying into. Their ships moved in patterns that had not changed for thousands of years. Commander Nick Cooper checked his equipment one final time. He led the Void Runners, humanity's elite spacefighters, but his ship carried no missiles or energy weapons. Instead, it carried something the aliens had never seen: devices that could reach into other dimensions and change the rules of reality itself. The Council fleet entered the outer edges of the solar system, expecting to find desperate humans making their last stand. Instead, they found empty space. No defensive platforms, no weapon stations, no sign of human military presence at all. The alien commanders began to worry that they had walked into a trap. Captain Maria Santos commanded the human ship Starbreaker from a bridge that existed in 7 dimensions at once. Her navigator, Ben Clark, could see through space and time as easily as looking through clear water. Her weapons officer, Amy Johnson, controlled forces that the aliens could not even detect. The battle began near Pluto. The Council fleet spread out in a formation designed to overwhelm any defender. Their ships numbered like stars in the sky, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a city. The alien commanders felt confident. How could any force stand against such overwhelming power? Simon gave the order that would change galactic history. All units engage the enemy. Show them what we have learned. But remember, not one alien life is to be lost today. The first Council ships to enter the battle zone suddenly found their engines failing. Their power systems went dead. Their weapons stopped working. But strangest of all, their crews remained completely unharmed. The humans were shutting down their ships without touching the people inside. Maria's ship appeared in the middle of the alien formation without warning. She had traveled through folded space, moving from one location to another without crossing the distance between. The alien ships around her opened fire, but their energy beams passed through the Starbreaker as if it were made of light. Ben guided their ship through dimensions the aliens could not perceive. From his position, he could see every enemy vessel at once. He could predict their movements before their own computers calculated them. The Council fleet was fighting an enemy that existed outside their understanding of reality. Amy activated weapons that fired dark matter contained in bubbles of twisted spacetime. These projectiles passed through alien shields as if they were not there. But instead of destroying the ships they hit, they simply shut down their systems. The dark matter rearranged the atomic structure of the alien technology, making it harmless but leaving the crews untouched. The Council commanders watched in horror as their mighty fleet was systematically disabled. Ships that had taken decades to build were rendered powerless in minutes, but the humans could have destroyed them all in seconds if they had chosen to do so. The Mercy was more terrifying than any weapon. Commander Cooper led his Void Runners in a dance through the enemy formation. Their ships moved through solid matter as easily as through empty space. They could be in several places at once, attacking from angles that should have been impossible. But every attack was carefully calculated to disable, never to destroy. General Torres watched the battle from her command post. The alien fleet was fighting exactly as she had predicted. Their strategies had not evolved in centuries. They relied on overwhelming force rather than innovation. Against humanity's new capabilities, they were like children trying to fight the wind. A group of draconian dreadnoughts tried to ram the human vessels. Their massive ships accelerated to ramming speed, intending to destroy the humans through sheer impact. But as they approached, the human ship simply stepped sideways through space. The draconian vessels found themselves ramming empty space while their targets appeared behind them. The largest alien ship in the fleet was the Altarian flagship commanded by Zephyrian himself. He watched his forces being systematically neutralized and felt something he had never experienced before: complete helplessness. His ship carried enough firepower to crack a planet, but he could not even scratch the human vessels. Simon opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. His voice reached every ship simultaneously, speaking in each crew's native language. "Council forces, you have fought bravely, but your technology cannot harm us. We could destroy your entire fleet in the time it takes you to draw breath. Instead, we choose mercy. Your crews will be unharmed, but your ships are now powerless." Zephyrian's voice cracked as he responded. "What are you? This is not possible. No species in the galaxy possesses such power." "We are what you made us," Simon replied. 500 years of isolation taught us to reach beyond the limits you thought were absolute. We learned that the universe has layers you never imagined. We learned to exist in all of them at once. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes from first contact to final surrender. When it ended, over 10,000 alien warships floated powerless in space. Not a single alien had been killed. Not a single ship had been destroyed. But the message was clear. Humanity possessed power beyond galactic comprehension. Maria's ship materialized next to Zephyrian's flagship. Through the viewscreen, the alien leader could see her standing on her bridge. She was not wearing a spacesuit, yet somehow her image was perfectly clear through the void. She raised her hand in what might have been a greeting or a farewell. Nick Cooper's voice came through the communication system. "Council fleet, your ships will regain basic life support and navigation in 1 hour. You have enough power to return home safely. We suggest you use the journey to think about what you have seen here today." As the human ships vanished back into the dimensions from which they had come, the alien crews sat in stunned silence. They had come to wage a war of extermination. Instead, they had received a lesson in humility that would echo through galactic history. Zephyrian stared at the empty space where the human ships had been. His 4 hands shook as he recorded his final report. The humans are not the same species we imprisoned 500 years ago. They have become something beyond our understanding. They could have destroyed us all, but they chose mercy. I do not know if this makes them saints or demons. I only know that the galaxy will never be the same. The Great Council fleet began its long journey home, carrying news that would shake every world in known space. Humanity had returned, and they had brought gifts that the galaxy was not ready to understand. President Michelle Adams stood before the rebuilt Galactic Assembly on Earth. The Great Hall had been constructed in just 3 weeks, using human technology that shaped matter at the molecular level. Representatives from every known species sat in chairs designed for their unique physiology. The age of council domination was ending, and something new was beginning. Secretary of Galactic Affairs Tony Miller reviewed the integration reports from dozens of worlds. In the 6 months since the failed attack on human space, everything had changed. Some aliens had fled to the far edges of the galaxy. Others had come seeking help. A few had tried to resist the new order. All had been treated with the same patient kindness that marked humanity's new approach to galactic relations. Chief Technology Officer Emma Davis worked with alien scientists who could barely understand the principles behind human innovations. She released new technology slowly, carefully, making sure each species could safely integrate them. A careless gift of power could destroy a civilization as surely as any weapon. On the Krelian homeworld of Kretor, engineer Brad Wilson worked alongside local scientists in laboratories that hummed with quiet efficiency. The genetic plague that had killed billions of Krelians for over a century was finally being defeated. Brad watched as the first generation of healthy Krelian children in 5 generations played in gardens that had been wastelands just months before. The Krelian lead scientist, Dr. Veltar, studied the human medical devices with wonder. His people had tried for decades to cure their genetic disease. The humans had solved it in days using techniques that seemed like magic. "How do these cellular rebuilders work?" he asked Brad. Brad smiled as he explained. "We learned to talk to DNA directly. Instead of fighting the damaged genes, we convince them to remember their original pattern. The cells heal themselves once they remember how they are supposed to be." Veltar's shell-like head tilted in confusion. "You speak as if the cells have consciousness." "At the quantum level, everything has a kind of awareness," Brad replied. "We learn to communicate with matter itself. That's the secret behind most of our technology." Meanwhile, on Proxima Station, Dr. Rachel Green worked with medical teams from 17 different species. The station had become a center of healing where diseases that had plagued the galaxy for millennia were being cured daily. Rachel had developed surgical techniques that repaired damage at the genetic level, giving hope to species that had faced extinction. A Vorthan physician named Karseth worked beside Rachel as they treated a patient whose nervous system had been damaged in an industrial accident. "Dr. Green, I have studied medicine for 40 years, but I do not understand how you can repair nerve pathways that have been completely severed." Rachel guided Karseth's hands as they used the human neural restoration device. "We learned that consciousness exists in layers. The physical nerves are just one layer. By reconnecting the quantum patterns, the physical structures remember how to rebuild themselves." The patient, a young Altarian worker, opened her eyes for the first time in months. Her forearms moved properly for the first time since her accident. Tears of joy ran down her alien features as she thanked the medical team in her native language. Not everyone welcomed the changes. In the shadow regions of the galaxy, old powers plotted resistance. General Thakmor of the Draconian Empire met secretly with leaders from 12 species who refused to accept human dominance. They called themselves the Free Galaxy Movement, though their freedom seemed to require the destruction of humanity. "The humans have made our people weak with their gifts," Thakmor hissed to his allies. "They cure our diseases and feed our hungry, but they make us dependent. Soon we will be nothing but pets in their galactic zoo." Admiral Vexoth of the Hegemony nodded agreement. "My spies report that human technology is spreading to every world. Species that have been enemies for centuries now work together in their laboratories. They are destroying the natural order of things. But their resistance movements found little support among their own people. It was hard to argue against humans when those same humans were healing the sick and feeding the hungry. It was difficult to call them conquerors when they asked for nothing in return for their gifts. On the desert world of Skandar, human atmospheric engineers worked with local teams to restore the planet's dying ecosystem. The world had been barren for centuries after its sun began to fade. Now, using human solar restoration technology, the star burned bright and clean again. The Scandarian leader, Elder Morwen, watched green plants growing in soil that had been lifeless dust just months before. "Your people work miracles," she told the human project leader. "What do you ask in return for giving us our world back?" The human engineer, a woman named Carol Hughes, smiled as she watched Scandarian children playing in the new gardens. "We ask only that you remember this kindness and pass it on to others when you can. The galaxy is big enough for all of us to prosper." President Adams addressed the Galactic Assembly as representatives from 47 species listened to her words. Some translated her speech into languages that had never been heard on Earth before. Others listened through quantum communication devices that conveyed meaning directly to their consciousness. "6 months ago, many of you saw us as a threat to galactic peace," Michelle said. "Today we hope you see us as partners in building a better future. We do not seek to rule the galaxy. We seek to heal it." The Krelian representative, speaking for the first time with a voice not weakened by genetic disease, stood to address the assembly. "The humans could have destroyed us all. Instead, they saved us. The Krelian people pledge our friendship to humanity and all who work for galactic peace." One by one, other representatives rose to speak. The Altarians offered to share their mathematical knowledge. The Vortha provided maps of unexplored space. The hegemony worlds contributed their expertise in energy manipulation. Species that had been suspicious enemies were becoming willing allies. But in the deep space between stars, the Free Galaxy movement continued to plot. They had stolen samples of human technology and were trying to reverse engineer weapons from healing devices. They believed that if they could match human power, they could restore the old order. General Thakmor studied the reports from his scientists. "Can we duplicate their dimensional manipulation technology?" he asked. The lead scientist, a renegade Altarian named Zekvan, shook his head. "Their devices require a level of consciousness integration that our people do not possess. They think and feel their way through dimensions. Our minds work differently." "Then we will find another way," Thakmor declared. "The humans are not gods. They can be defeated." Back on Earth, Emma Davis monitored the Free Galaxy movement through sensors that could detect thoughts across interstellar distances. She reported their activities to President Adams during their weekly briefing. "They're trying to weaponize our medical technology, but they don't understand the consciousness component. Their attempts will fail." Michelle nodded thoughtfully. "Keep watching them, but don't interfere unless they become a direct threat. Fear and pride drive their actions. Time will show them that cooperation serves them better than resistance." Tony Miller added the latest integration reports to his files. 17 more species have requested inclusion in the Galactic Cooperation Framework. The Draconian Empire is the only major power still refusing to participate. "They'll come around," Michelle said. "When their people see what cooperation can accomplish, their leaders will have no choice but to join us, or be replaced by those who will." The galaxy was changing faster than anyone had thought possible. Old enemies worked side by side in laboratories and hospitals. Dying worlds bloomed with new life. Species that had faced extinction found hope in human medicine and technology. The future looked brighter than it had in centuries. But in the darkness between stars, ancient secrets waited to be discovered. And those secrets would soon test whether the new galactic alliance was strong enough to face the challenges that lay ahead. Captain Steve Rogers stood on the bridge of the Unity as his ship approached the galactic core. 5 years had passed since humanity's emergence from the Sol Cage, and the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. His crew included beings from 12 different species, all working together using technologies that combined the best innovations from their civilizations. The Unity itself was a marvel of cooperative engineering. Human dimensional manipulation technology powered Altarian mathematical processors. Krelian biological computers worked alongside Vorthon energy systems. The ship existed in multiple dimensions at once while its crew thought and felt their way through problems that would have baffled the old galactic powers. Dr. Yilmoth, a hegemony scientist, monitored the quantum sensors as they penetrated deeper into the dangerous space around the galactic center. "Captain, I'm detecting artificial structures embedded in the event horizon of the central black hole. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases." Steve nodded to his human navigator, Lieutenant Jenny Park. "Take us closer, but keep us in dimensional phase." Whatever built those structures, I don't think they're still active. The structures that emerged from the quantum foam around the black hole were vast beyond comprehension. Cities that could house trillion beings floated in impossible orbits around the event horizon. Massive machines drew energy directly from the spinning black hole's rotation. But everything was silent, cold, abandoned. Lieutenant Commander Zarketh, a reformed draconian officer, studied the tactical readings. "Sir, these installations are millions of years old, but they show signs of hasty evacuation. Whatever happened here, the builders left in a hurry." Back on Earth, Admiral Kate Harrison received the Unity's reports in the Situation Room deep beneath the rebuilt Pentagon. Around her sat leaders from 30 species, all working together to coordinate the defense of their shared galaxy. The old council had been replaced by this Galactic Defense Alliance, where every voice was heard and every species contributed their unique strengths. "The structures match references we found in the ancient databases," said Dr. Meltara, a Altarian historian. "They belong to the architects, a civilization that unified the galaxy over 1,000,000 years ago. According to legend, they vanished overnight, leaving only warnings about something they called the Hunger." Kate studied the holographic displays that showed the ancient installations. What kind of threat could make beings powerful enough to build cities around black holes, abandon everything, and flee? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Claire Thompson, humanity's chief evolutionary biologist, had been studying genetic patterns across all known species. Her research had revealed something disturbing, a pattern of evolution that appeared in every race at roughly the same time, as if something had forced rapid adaptation across the entire galaxy. The genetic evidence suggests that approximately 1,000,000 years ago, every intelligent species in the galaxy underwent massive evolutionary changes in a very short time, Claire explained to the assembled leaders. It's as if they were all preparing for the same threat. President John Parker, who had replaced Michelle Adams 2 years earlier, addressed the Alliance leadership. "Captain Rogers, I want you to investigate those installations thoroughly. We need to understand what the architects were so afraid of." Steve's team spent weeks exploring the ancient structures. What they found changed their understanding of galactic history. The installations were not cities or weapons, they were preparation centers. The architects had been teaching other species, sharing technology, trying to unite the galaxy for a great war that was coming. In the deepest archives of the ancient computers, they found records that chilled the blood of every species in the Alliance. The Hunger was not a metaphor. It was a force that consumed entire star systems, leaving nothing but empty space behind. It appeared at regular intervals, sweeping across the galaxy like a tide of destruction. According to these records, the Hunger appears every 1,000,000 years, Steve reported to the Alliance leadership. It consumes matter, energy, even space-time itself. The architects spent thousands of years trying to prepare the galaxy to fight it, but something went wrong. The other species weren't ready. The architects had to make a terrible choice. Dr. Claire Thompson's research suddenly made horrifying sense. "The Sol cage," she whispered. "It wasn't a prison. It was an incubation chamber." John Parker's face went pale as the implications hit him. "You're saying the aliens who locked us away were following ancient protocols?" Claire nodded slowly. The architects left instructions. When the Hunger returned, one species would need to be prepared, isolated, forced to evolve beyond normal limitations, made ready to fight a war that would determine the survival of all life in the galaxy. Kate Harrison pulled up star charts showing the current galactic situation. The ancient records indicate the Hunger is due to return within the next century. We have maybe 50 years to prepare. But the Free Galaxy movement, still operating in secret, intercepted these communications. General Thakmore finally understood why the humans had become so powerful so quickly. They were not conquerors, they were weapons, created by ancient design to fight an enemy that devoured galaxies. "This changes everything," Thakmore told his remaining allies. "The humans were made to fight this Hunger. Without them, we all die when it returns." Admiral Vexoth struggled with the new information. "Are you saying we should surrender to them completely?" "I'm saying we should join them before it's too late," Thakmore replied. "Pride and fear nearly cost us everything. We cannot afford such luxuries when the galaxy itself is at stake." On the Unity, Steve's team made one final discovery in the deepest archives of the architect installations. Hidden beneath layers of quantum encryption, they found a message addressed to humanity specifically. It had been waiting for 1,000,000 years. Children of Earth, the message began. If you are reading this, then our plan has succeeded. Your species has evolved as we hoped. You have the power to exist in multiple dimensions, to communicate with matter itself, to shape reality through consciousness and will. You are what we could never become. Beings who can fight the hunger and win. The message continued with detailed information about the enemy humanity would soon face. The hunger was not a natural phenomenon. It was a weapon created by a species so ancient that even the architects knew them only through legends. This weapon had been consuming galaxies for millions of years, growing stronger with each world it devoured. But you have something the hunger has never faced. The architect message concluded. You have learned to fight without hatred, to conquer through compassion. The hunger feeds on fear and anger. Against love and unity, it has no defense. President Parker addressed the Galactic Alliance in an emergency session. The time has come to reveal everything to our people. The next 50 years will determine whether conscious life survives in this galaxy or disappears forever into the void. The truth spread across thousands of worlds. Humanity's former prisoners learned they were actually partners in the greatest battle in galactic history. Species that had resented human power began to understand that this power was their only hope for survival. The Free Galaxy movement dissolved overnight as its members rushed to join the alliance. General Thakmore arrived on Earth offering his complete cooperation. We were fools to resist you, he told President Parker. How can the Draconian Empire help prepare for this war? Dr. Claire Thompson made one final discovery that gave everyone hope. The human genetic modifications weren't just about combat ability, she announced. We were also designed to teach others. Every human carries the potential to help other species evolve beyond their current limitations. Across the galaxy, humans began working with alien partners in ways no one had imagined. They helped Krelians develop quantum consciousness. They taught Altarians to think in 11 dimensions. They showed Draconians how to channel their warrior nature into protective instincts that could shield entire star systems. Kate Harrison stood in the new Galactic Defense Command Center, watching thousands of species work together to prepare for humanity's ultimate test. 50 years, she said to her staff. 50 years to turn an entire galaxy into something the universe has never seen. A unified force fighting for life itself. Steve Rogers brought the Unity back to Earth, but his mission was far from over. The ancient installations had provided the location where the hunger would first appear. Humanity and their allies would meet it there, in the deep space between galaxies where the fate of all conscious life would be decided. The galaxy's former prisoners had become its guardians. The species that had been locked away for their own protection were now the protectors of everything that lived. And in 50 years they would prove that love and unity could overcome even the darkest hunger in the universe. The real war was about to begin.